So this video is going to be about 5 awesome things about ENTPs and what makes them special and unique among the 16 types. So I'm just going to hop right into it because it's fairly straightforward. So the first thing is that, in my opinion, they have the quickest mind of all of the 16 types. And I think it's because of their extroverted intuition and introverted thinking that they use as their first two functions. And because of this, they're able to come up with superb one-liners, burns, comebacks, etc. The things that everybody else wants to say hours later if they're in an argument with somebody, they will say in the moment. And I think it's because of the first two functions that they have. And this is also a factor as to why ENTPs tend to make good comedians, because they're not afraid to make fun of anyone and anything, but they do it in a playful manner, where it doesn't come across as making fun of somebody coming from a place of malice. And I think that's their tertiary extroverted feeling because of that. And as a larger issue, I think that's kind of why so much of mainstream comedy, as on US talk shows at night and Saturday Night Live sometimes, is that it clearly comes from a place of malice when they're doing their political comedy especially. It's very, very clear that they really don't like the people that they're making fun of. Any ENTPs, even if they don't like, the opposite side or whatever, it won't come across as hateful. And I think that's why they make good comedians. And relatedly, and obviously, ENTPs are really good at debating and playing the devil's advocate, which they'll often do just for fun. And some types they can't even handle, considering in their head what people who disagree with them might think or why do they feel this way. But ENTPs, they just do this all the time anyway for fun. And a really good example of this is Steven Crowder's segment that he does called Change My Mind, which you can see on YouTube. I think what he does is a really good example of an ENTP debating, and again, it doesn't come across as, hateful what he does. It'll be playful with people and stuff, but so I think that's a good example. And the third thing is that they're really innovative people, and I think oftentimes they're decades or sometimes centuries ahead of their time in what they've worked on, or their theories might not necessarily be appreciated in their lifetime. And to a normal person, they might just seem like a really, really eccentric person who's just off in la la land. But because they're dealing with sometimes these super abstract and advanced ideas that aren't necessarily manifesting in reality in that moment, it can seem crazy to some people. And two good examples of this from history are Benjamin Franklin and Leonardo da Vinci. Especially Leonardo da Vinci, because he was in some ways doing pretty radical things. For example, he would secretly, because I believe it wasn't allowed, but he would secretly get bodies from morgues after people had died, and he would do dissections and essentially draw anatomy pictures, because he was curious as to how the human body worked. And that was a really, really radical thing to be doing at the time, and I'm pretty sure it was illegal for him to be doing that, but he did it anyway. And obviously Benjamin Franklin invented a lot of things, including bifocal glasses, and everything else. He's also a really, really interesting person. And fourth thing is that they can be really bold, and they're not afraid to go against the grain if they think that they are right. It doesn't bother them if, the masses disagree with them. If anything, that kind of feeds their energy about it. And they have extroverted feeling, but they're not primarily motivated by it, but like some types are. And it's almost as if they think that people not knowing the truth is harmful to the collective, and so they will say it without caring what the personal consequences of it are. And an example of this is Johnny Rotten from the Sex Pistols. He was banned from the BBC for a while because he said in an interview, I believe this was probably during the 70s, but he was on the BBC and he was doing an interview and he just spilled the beans about Jimmy Savile, and he got in trouble for that for a long time. But he was right, so he didn't care what the consequences were. He was right. And the fifth thing is that ENTPs have trickster or low-key energy, and they might create chaos just for its own sake, but it's usually nothing too extreme or damaging to other people. And in mythology, you have Loki, who's the god of chaos, and certainly with bad things, but in real life it's usually nothing too far off, and it's nothing too bad. And ENTPs, sometimes they'll just instigate arguments at Thanksgiving dinner, especially if they're told not to do it. That just makes them more likely to do it. They're one of those types. And they'll start these arguments, but they'll not be super, super emotionally invested themselves in it. They just want to see how people are going to respond. And yeah, so anyway, that's 5 cool things about ENTPs that I personally enjoy about them, and I think that they're a really cool type. And yeah, thank you for watching. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please let me know in the comments, and I will see you later. Bye.